Hello, everyone. This is the SIG-Network Ingress NGINX sub-project meeting. Today is August 17th, 2021. This is a Kubernetes community meeting, so we ask you to comply with the code of conduct, which is basically be excellent with each other. Any violations should be reported to the SIG chairs or anyone running this meeting privately. And with that, we can go ahead and get started. We've got a couple new folks that I haven't met yet, so if you want to, go ahead and go on unmute and introduce yourselves, everyone.
Hello, my name is Chris Mark. Can you hear me?
Can hear you just fine, Chris.
My name is Chris Mark, and I'm interested in learning more about NGINX Ingress and hopefully configure it.
Awesome. We can always use more contributors. Thank you.
Hey, hello, my name is Laszlo Jánosi. I'm from IBM, and I'm from the squad that deals with Ingress controller in IBM Cloud Kubernetes solution.
We might have some questions for you about the mainframe build.
Not sure. Okay.
Well, we can talk about it later. It's one of the issues we have with our cloud build. It always, when the cloud build fails, 90% of the time, it's because of the mainframe build. Anyway, thank you for joining, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No? All right, we can go ahead and get started. We've got, I think we've done, I did a bunch of triage this morning, and it looks like Noah's got a lot of questions for us to go through. Really, we don't have any action items. I would think that's too pressing besides V1, which is our first one. So we can start there and look at the status. We can pull that up. You, Ricardo, you want me to pull it up and share a screen? Or do you want to share your screen?
No, you can keep your screen open if you want it. I'm just I'm just going to make a you mean you wanna go through the issues first, right?
We can talk about the V1 status. That's the first thing on the list.
Okay, sounds good to me. So yeah, we are actually on some sort of code freeze right now. We've decided in the channel. I was talking with James as well and Jingtao, and so we decided to make some hard stop right now and wait for people to test the V1 beta Helm shard and other stuffs, and also while Long makes the documentation about the migration. I think we are almost good to go. I can't remember any other showstopper issue on GitHub. At least Long didn't send that to me, or no one, and I didn't saw as well. So I guess we are probably good to go, and I am just waiting so we can discuss if we are gonna merge the dev v1 branch into main, or if we just wanna rename the branches between like main and dev v1. So yeah, we should probably discuss about that. But if you ask my opinion, I guess we should merge. But I am actually really good at breaking stuff at Git and making like the GitHub complaint. Like probably Microsoft should hire me to test Git, because I'm really good at breaking GitHub. So I'm willing to listen your opinion as well about merging stuff. I guess that's it. Oh, by the way, this is recorded, so I am not thinking about leaving VMware. Okay, I was just kidding about Microsoft hiring me.
I was gonna add on that. That's why you got your head shaved, because you're getting cleaned up for the interview with Microsoft. No, kidding. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to review Long's documentation yet. I was looking at the release doc, not the V1 migration docs. As far as everyone, to catch everyone else up to speed before we go, I guess the class conflicts probably also add to this discussion as well. So before we talk about V1 versus main and dev V1, Laszlo,
yeah. I think that before thinking about merging, I would like to. So Laszlo sent some messages. I took a look into some of those yesterday. Others not, and I am sorry, but I am like splitting my time in a bunch of stuff. But I have invited him actually to contribute and show us what's actually his concerns about that, about Ingress class, and maybe if this is a showstopper or just we need to figure out how to make a soft migration as well.
Gotcha.
So Laszlo, if you wanna talk about that, just go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for the invitation. So yeah, so as I said, I'm from IBM Cloud Kubernetes Service, and we provide Ingress controllers as a service for our customers. And so far we used, of course, the previous versions. And since 1.18, our customers, our users use the Ingress class feature pretty widely as well. And they use the Ingress classes according to the, how to say, current rules, so that the Ingress class controller field is a static mandatory value pointing always to the same value. And the Ingress class's name was the one that actually made the sharding of ingresses among different Ingress controllers. And as I understand, my understanding can be wrong, as I understand, the new implementation in version 1 would use the Ingress class controller field to differentiate between the Ingress classes and then indirectly between the ingresses among the Ingress controllers. And as I tested it, I found that users who would like to upgrade the Ingress controller in a how to say, canary release manner, or so actually running two Ingress controller versions, the old one and the new one side by side, and they would like to have the same ingresses to be fed into both Ingress controller versions, they will have problems because of the current logic, how the Ingress classes are processed in the old Ingress controller and in the new Ingress controller. As I can see, users actually will have to make new Ingress classes, and that would be all right, no problem. But as a consequence, users also have to kind of duplicate their Ingress definitions. And the difference between two Ingress definitions will be, of course, the name of the Ingress resources, but the only thing that differs actually is the Ingress class name in the Ingress class, in the Ingress resource. And considering that, so I know not every user wants to have such kind of seamless upgrade of Ingress controllers, but there are users who would like to run the new Ingress controller at the same time on the same cluster with the old one, and in case of problems falling back to the old one. So I'm sure they wouldn't like to duplicate their Ingress amount, resource amount, and so that's it. So the main problem, I think, as I understand, maybe I'm wrong, is that the users has to create new Ingress resources for the new Ingress controller because of the Ingress class processing logic change.
Okay, so I am just trying to be honest and to be clear. It took me like a huge amount of time to understand as well the Ingress class and how they have changed it. And I also made some complaints with Rob Scott and the other folks, like saying, hey, so you've changed this, and yeah, and it broke a lot of stuff for us as well. And he said, yeah, we weren't expecting that. So obviously making jokes, but it was pretty hard to understand that. So as I told you, João, which is the developer for AJ Proxy Ingress controller, he's a friend of mine. He's actually, we worked together, and I have asked him, and he explained me about all of those logics. And yeah, so so what I can get from your problem specifically is that users, they point to an Ingress class, but you might have like a lot of Ingress controllers watching the same, because the Ingress class name actually they actually can be like they point to a spec controller, and that spec controller is what the Ingress controllers they are going to watch, right?
Yeah, if you think I can show you my test, what I did.
Yeah, go ahead.
If that's
James,
okay.
can you
Yeah,
can you allow him?
Sure.
Yeah, I think you should allow him to actually to share his screen.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
Thank
Should be
you.
able to share now, Laszlo.
Let's see which one. And also, I have to allow myself to share.
Yeah, if you're on a Mac and you haven't shared on Zoom before, you might have to restart.
Just a minute.
Okay. So just so that I can clarify and understand, we have users who are running multiple Ingress controllers, and they're pointing at the Ingress name. And so when they want to do a canary release, they can't do that with the newer ones because Ingress name's gone away and it's moved into the controller spec, and that's in the Ingress class. So being able to differentiate traffic between the two is not feasible anymore. Is that the problem? Am I understanding that correctly? Father?
Yeah. So what I saw that João did actually is you can specify more parameters other than just the spec controller. So you can say, hey, this is the blue and this is the green. And if you ask some feature that only the blue Ingress controller had, it's going to be published by the blue one. But yeah, this is a problem. I need actually to make some further tests. But
do we know?
I'm afraid of. We can ping Bowie and Rob and see what they think about that. Because
this probably needs to be something that needs to be talked about in the migration as well, right?
Yeah. Because as far as I remember, this is actually a problem of of how Ingress class was developed. It was like concepted. I was talking also with Alejandro, and he told me like, yeah, so I saw the cap, but I didn't got my opinion because I was like pretty busy, and when it got merged, I couldn't say anything anymore. So I was talking with him as well. So yeah, what we can do maybe is I don't know if this is like a corner case or not, but maybe thinking about a new flag or something like that that allows users to ignore the old Ingress class behavior and say, hey, okay, so we are gonna take the Ingress class name that users are using as the index of what's gonna be indexed by what's gonna be stored by the Ingress controller in the future, just as a compatibility. Let me say some way of making things easier, right? Because it's not this Ingress classes, it's not easy for the migration, and this is actually why I am like asking Long, and I am making some reviews about like all the scenarios and how users can migrate, because for the 90% of the users is mostly like, hey, I just want to watch like the default Ingress class, and Ingress says without Ingress class, and that's okay. But in this case specifically, like Laszlo said, they have like a lot of ingresses. So how can we deal with that? So go ahead, Laszlo, and if you wanna share your screen.
Yeah, thank you.
Ricardo, we have to.
Yeah, go.
We have to have a very clear strategy on this, and the top priority of the strategy, even before the specific Ingress class, is actually splitting the documentation and our stand, as in official statement, on users who are not on 1.22 and who are on 1.22. I think that is more important than I think we can spend some time and get a solution for the multiple controller scenario. But the biggest problem, I mean, the problem that is bigger than that is actually what is our official stand on people who wants to use 1.22 and want to take all their old Ingress objects to 1.22, and then comes the other category of people who have different scenarios with not being on 1.22, different controllers, different Ingress objects, and then the actual support of which the scope actually, the Ingress class name or Ingress class field, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like the majority of deployments, they are simple, right? It's not it's not like at least I guess it's a guess. Okay, I don't have like numbers about that, but so far what I can see is like the majority of people is like, hey, we want to use an Ingress, and this is like the one that's official one. So I just want to like execute like a kubectl applying some sort of deployment script and have everything working, right? But on the other hand, it's hard because we have like the cloud providers as IBM and others that they are using Ingress NGINX, and they need to provide a way for their users to migrate as well. So yeah, but what's your suggestion about like the approach right now, Long? What do you think about that? Like not from the implementation side, but maybe from the documentation or from the release side?
When I tried to document, only then I realized that there is the biggest problem is the actual distinction itself and what is the official statement from us. For example, if somebody actually starts using Kubernetes 1.22, they have no option left but to install V1 of the controller.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This is true. This is true.
So well, currently it's beta 3, right?
Yeah, currently beta, but when we do release, the first problem and the first answer we have to have an official answer is what is the official documentation, what is the official statement saying everybody who has got either a few or several or really huge number of Ingress objects and they are migrating their Kubernetes cluster to 1.22, the only option they have is they are forced to use version 1.0 of the Ingress controller, and that implies so many changes to their their manifest and their Ingress objects. So we have to have an official statement. So if we are talking now about bringing in this new design aspect, that we try to give them a flag or a switch, then we have to decide that now or as soon as possible, because that is the first problem. I mean, parallelly, there are three situations. One is people who definitely want to or who have actually moved to 1.22 and they will get a surprise. They'll not expect that so many changes have to be done to their Ingress objects and so on. So we have to have one statement on that. Then second scenario is, yeah, please go ahead.
Because I was going to say that Kubernetes actually have this migration contract in a way that if you migrate from 1.16 to 1.18 and from 1.18 to 1.20, the objects, they need to be converted. They are actually converted in by the admission and the other stuffs. right? I can't remember, but I saw something about
Yes.
that from Jordan Digit. So what people
Yes.
can't do actually is jump from 116 to 122, right? This is not going to work because they are not going to have like the opportunity to migrate their object. But what they can do is actually migrate from 116 to 120, I guess, and from 120 to 122. And they won't need to like to keep removing and re-adding the objects, I guess. I am not sure. Okay. But yeah, I think that one thing that we need to probably make some statement is that, hey, if you are migrating from 119 to 122, please make sure you test your migration first and check that your objects are working. Because from the V1 Ingress object perspective, besides Ingress class, which we are not gonna say, but we have like three major changes, which are the path prefix and how the service backends they are written in the Ingress object, right? So it's the service name and like service port or service whatever port name. But I got your point, and I think that maybe one approach that we could do is, hey, we are releasing this for Kubernetes version 122, but we still don't. I saw some other projects doing that, so we still don't have like a good way of migrating from 119 to 122. So we just don't wanted people from 122 to be without Ingress, and this is why we actually are supporting version 1 and version 0.x. But we are going in this window to figure out how to do that migration. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know if this sounds I really don't know if this sounds like a good approach, or if this sounds like hey, we just wanna jump problems. I really don't want to jump problems. But on the other hand, I guess we need to make this release happen, because we already have people running like on Kubernetes 122 and they don't have any Ingress NGINX to run that, because we don't have any official Ingress NGINX to run that.
Yes. So I think you covered it all. Only problem or the missing piece I see was we are not being explicit that for a simple use case, any team, any organization, any cluster which has, let's say, 10 or 15 Ingress objects, and they were on 0.48.1, and they change their cluster to 1.22, then we are forcing them to switch or upgrade their Ingress controller as well. But normally people who have come from 16 to 17 or 17 to 18, all the way from any versions, all the way up to 21, they did not have to face a situation where they had to change their Ingress controller. So anybody who comes to 1.22, they have to change their Ingress controller, and that message we have to basically be upfront first and foremost. So I'm basically saying these different scenarios, we haven't gone through it. Only while writing and trying it myself, I kind of felt it. So we have to put that effort and kind of have a strategy as to what we will see.
Yeah. Let's just for time's sake, because I know we've got the migration doc on there as well, and we can circle back on that async. We have to have the scenario plans out, but let's go ahead and let Laszlo present his issues. The only other thing that I was going to ask is, Laszlo, do we have this documented in an issue?
Not yet, because I wanted to clarify whether my understanding is wrong and so on before I write an issue. Maybe it's not the best way to do. Sorry for that then.
It's all good. Go ahead. You should be able to share your screen.
Yeah.
It's already shared.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is the discussion in the Slack channel, and here I documented. Okay. Here I wrote down my test and my finding. So in my cluster, there were two Ingress controllers, A and B, and my intention was to assign some ingresses to ingress controller A and some other ingresses to ingress controller B with ingress classes. And with this previous version of the ingress controller, I have to do it so that I have to create two ingress classes. In my case, it's C and D. So the name is C and D. And with the old ingress controller, it is mandatory to have this value in the controller field for all ingress classes that should be processed by the Ingress NGINX controller. So I created these ingress classes, and then I created two ingresses, E and F, and I configured them with the different ingress classes, and it happened, the thing that I expected happened, so that ingress controller A processed ingress E because of the ingress class definition. Ingress controller B processed the other ingress, and they didn't process each other's ingresses. So that's the starting position where a user is currently in if she uses ingress classes to shard ingresses among ingress controllers. So the original purpose. And then I deployed the beta 2 version of the 1.0.0 ingress controller. And I didn't configure a controller class for it because it then uses this, this default ingress class. And as I expected, it started processing both ingresses, existing ingresses. Because first of all, the new ingress controller started processing the ingress classes. It found it matches for these fields from now on. So the old ingress controller matched for the name. The new ingress controller matches for the controller. And because the two ingress class has the same controller ID, because they had to have that ID in the past, so the new ingress controller processes both ingress classes as its own. And from that point, as it reads, as it lists all the ingresses, it will process all the ingresses that are assigned by this ingress class or this ingress class. So the new ingress controller processes all the ingresses. And even if, let's say, I'm a user who wants to change first only ingress controller A to the new version, I will find that the single deployment that I deployed with version 1 processes all my ingresses, which is not sure what I wanted, because maybe A ingress controller is a public ingress controller in my cluster, and the B ingress controller is a private ingress controller in my cluster. And I used ingress class to shard ingresses between them. But now if I, let's say, deploy 1.0 as a public ingress controller behind the public load balancer, then suddenly it processes all the ingresses. Now, if I don't do anything, yes. And what I found, the logic changed so that, as what I said, that so far the old ingress controller used the metadata name for everything. So for reading up ingress classes and for matching ingress classes with ingresses, the new ingress controller uses the controller field to identify its own ingress classes, and then it uses the name part to match it with ingresses later. And well, I think so that the old functionality, so okay, and this, as I understand, this new logic, it runs out to that point that the user, before switching on a new ingress controller, has to create new ingress classes with pointing so that the controllers are different in the ingress classes. And because there's a new ingress classes and it's not a namespace, the objects or whatever, then the name must be also different. Now, if the name is different in the ingress class, then the relevant ingresses must be, let's say, updated as well with the new name of the ingress class. But if I want to run two ingress controllers, I mean, the old and the new one at the same time, because of the upgrade procedure, I want to execute tests and I want to make sure that the new one works fine and so on. So will run the old ingress controller and new ingress controller side by side. Then I have to have two ingresses now, one with the old ingress class, one with the new ingress class. So I have to duplicate my ingress resources actually in my cluster for this purpose.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, you know that there is a new flag that you can actually select what's the spec controller that's going to be watched, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I just don't get sorry, I just don't get this last sentence about why you need why can't you get your ingress object and say, hey, so now this uses ingress class D, which points to spec.controller kx.io/ingress-nginx2, and your ingress nginx2, for example, is watching that one. I just don't get this one, this statement.
So the base situation is that I want to keep the old ingress controller running on the cluster while I deploy the new one. So I must keep these ones as they are. And at the same time, I would like to start up a new ingress controller for the upgrade purpose. And as soon as I start this one and I don't create new ingress classes, then the new one will process all the ingresses that I don't want. In order to shard ingresses for the new ingress controller as well, I have to create new ingress classes there.
Okay. Yeah, I got your point now. So if we decide here to create something like sorry, James, I'm just gonna, like, we decide to create something like a configuration called legacy ingress class behavior that says that instead of watching the ingress class controller, spec controller, we are gonna watch the name. And like this have some caveats. This goes against like why ingress class was designed, but actually I don't care, right? So
What?
it's I want to make, yeah, go ahead.
Why can't, I'm still confused on what the issue is if just creating a new ingress class solves the problem.
Because creating new ingress class is not enough, unfortunately. The user also has to create new ingresses that point to the new ingress class. So the user,
I would think I would think if I'm wanting to test new functionality, I'd be doing it in a lower environment before I'm deploying it to my production clusters. So if we give them a migration path of, I don't know, I wouldn't want to do both in the same cluster. Especially, are we talking about from like a migration for a cutover?
it's an upgrade in the production cluster.
It's a I got his point, James. Like in
Yeah.
some cases, that's a in place migration, right? So you can't like create a new cluster and start moving everything. But
Okay.
yeah.
This is for a production cutover.
So for Laszlo case, for example, he would need to migrate like from 116 to 121, which supports V1 Beta 1 and V1, and run like Ingress NGINX version 0.x and version 1, and just start like migrating the Ingress objects from Ingress class A to Ingress class B. But yeah, I got your point. Okay. Yeah, so my question is, if we specify actually, just being honest, like we knew that this migration wouldn't be as soft as it looked, right? So we've got like 90% of people covered by, hey, this is, we added a lot of flags, but we knew that in some moment these like edge cases were going to appear. So this is why I asked it, like, if we create some way to make like Ingress V1 behave as Ingress version 0.x, but not break the way. So it's up to the cluster admin to say, hey, this is the way Ingress NGINX is gonna work, right? So I don't oppose myself of doing that. I just don't want to stop like the release right now and say, hey, if you have this specific case, wait for the next release. Go ahead, James. I don't want to also decide doing that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of introducing old functionality into the new version to fix an issue that other ingresses are going to have as well. I think we should open the issue and contact and have a discussion with the Google proxy, the Google and HA proxy, and figure out how they're doing their migration strategy. Because I don't know if introducing old functionality into the new one is the right answer. It is an answer. I don't know if it's the right answer. Is that fair, Ricardo?
Yeah. So what I've seen from HA proxy is that they are doing. Let me open here. So what they did actually is they support the old behavior before the new behavior, right? So they say, hey, you might have annotations came first before the Ingress class. So if you have Ingress class and annotation, I'm gonna take care. I'm gonna use annotation first and Ingress class later, right? Because we already support. Yeah, we already support annotations, but on the order of the store, we first figure out if the annotation came first and then the Ingress class. So this is like a strategy as far as we say, hey, we are not going to support annotations in the future, so we are leaving this just for migrations. But yeah, I think we should document that. I just don't wanna leave users with problems without an answer, right? So this is like the way they designed the Ingress class, and unfortunately, this is like we need to follow that. But on the other hand, Kubernetes have this contract of not breaking stuff, and I guess we should have this contract as well, at least like while you have the opportunity of doing migration. So yeah, probably we should document everything in an issue and discuss on that and say, hey, this approach is better, that approach is better. Hey, that's a well-known issue, so people migrating in this specific case, please take a look and follow this issue. And don't migrate to version 1 yet. Just hold on. We are gonna make this like in 1 month. How does this sound?
Yeah. So probably open up the issue and then put it out to the mailing list and see if we get any feedback.
Yeah, we should probably also add that to the mailing list. Yeah.
Okay.
Saying, at least asking like Bowie and Rob Scott and say, hey, so you designed this, just help us fixing this. Right? Okay, cool. Sounds good, Laszlo.
Thank you.
I'll put that under the
sure.
action items.
Cool.
All right. That was a lot. Let's go to the easy stuff. Triaging issues. As I put this in so we don't lose track of it. So I'll leave that to you, Laszlo, to open up the issue.
Yep, all right.
And just assign me, James, and yeah, so we can at least keep the track on that.
Yep. Sure, thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. We're at 42, so we're probably not going to be able to get through all of these. Do we want to go? I've done a review already of the release that you put out long. I put in a bunch of comments to the update. Did anybody else get a chance to read through this? Because I know we had some growing pains with the old way of doing our release with Long, so he was able to go through and did a bunch of updates to our release. I know, Noah, you've seen it. Ricardo, have you had a chance to review the new release doc?
No, sorry, folks.
That's okay.
I took the weekend to take some rest, and
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I was looking into that. Yeah,
I'll drop it in.
But
the
I
channel.
trust you. If you wanna prove that, I'm that's just up to you, really.
Yeah, I had
Don't wait on me
I had
for
some
everything.
questions on there.
Okay.
Well, me and you have done the most releases, so I wanted to make sure that you saw it. But I've got some things in there for long to look through, some updates just to make it a little bit cleaner because some of the things are redundant. And I think my big thing was the NGINX image needs to be pushed with the rest of the other images because they all get changed the same way. Add the new image because there was one for the webhook, web admission hook, so the cert gen, I forget which one it was. That's a new image that we're tracking because the first step should always be a merge request or a PR because that's going to kick off the cloud build and that's going to give us the new SHA. That's always our first step. The other ones are optional because otherwise you just jump to step 4. So I'm trying to make it a little bit more logical from that respect. So as long as you have any
I'll make the
questions.
change.
No, I saw your comments. I'll make the change as soon as possible. Probably after this meeting, I'll make those changes and put in.
Trying to make it easier so that other people can do releases as well. So it's not just relying on me and Ricardo.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have for that. That's a pretty quick one. We can go ahead and get started. Noah, you've got a bunch of issues for us to look at, so I thank you for going through all of those. I know that that can be a slog sometimes.
But Ricardo,
Yeah, it is, but it's okay.
quick note, Ricardo, that the documentation PR and release PR, okay, we can delay, but the doc PR has to go in before the release, before you make the 1.0 release, right?
Migration
Yeah.
release, the migration documentation.
Yeah, even if it is bad, even if it is not so up to date, something we have to put up something.
I'm not gonna review today because my agenda is pretty busy today, but I will make my biggest effort to review your document again tomorrow and say if we are good to go or not, or if we can like at least like go with the document the way it is for tomorrow and leave some follow-ups for people to fix that. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is the one we're
Thank
talking
you.
about, right? 7494.
Yeah.
Drop it in here so that other folks can look at it as well. We need people to look at the migration path. Okay. Let's go ahead and get started. I know we're short on time, but let's go ahead and start looking at the features that Noah's pointed out. That's not the first one. Maybe it was. Configure Prometheus response time buckets. I thought this one had a PR on it.
Yeah, so for this one specifically, I don't have opinion, actually. I know that a lot of people is actually thumbing up this. I just need what's the impact for like for monitoring, for other for the performance of this Lua backend as well, generating those information. But so if someone wants to take a look and say, hey, the bucket thing makes sense, I am okay that we can take a better look. I saw on past another issue that Chris Luciano actually was taking a look, and he wrote something like, hey, this bucket histogram is pretty spread or something like that. So I didn't had any opinion about that. So maybe folks more familiar with Prometheus histogram and can give some opinions about that.
Yeah, I'll say a lot of changes in there. Okay.
Yeah, I guess it was that.
No,
that
what
one.
was your?
Go back to that PR.
So I guess this is the PR to fix it.
Yeah, and I saw folks commenting about into that, but I actually did comment. I don't remember what I commented or not yet. Yeah, I just changed the branch and make that yeah, okay. Okay, if someone wanna take a look into that, just yeah.
No, were you just listing out the oldest ones for us to look at? Is that why you added this one?
If someone wanna take a look into that one, just help me, please. at least with
Well-
vision of Prometheus and Instagram.
Well, there's also, they've got time as well because we still have the change phrase until we get V1 out. I think I've looked at this one. HTTP 3 is still in draft, isn't it? Or is it out? Or is it implemented? Because I think I was looking at versions of NGINX, and I don't think NGINX even had it implemented yet.
Okay,
So-
so can we put it to the backlog or something? Give it a priority? I don't know how to handle some such issues. To put them on hold or something.
Yeah, there it was. Yeah.
Oh.
I know I looked at it. Yeah. It's still experimental and it's not in a stable release in NGINX yet. So just put long term.
Yeah, priority important long term. And we can do a triage accepted into that one.
I
Is
will
that,
take a
is that
look.
going to get the bot to stop it from putting it as stale?
If you do, yeah, a life cycle / life cycle. Yeah,
The
triage
triage dash
accepted,
accepted.
triage space accepted. Life cycle active. And if bot tries to put on stale again, we can put a life cycle frozen and bot will stop complaining. But I guess the life cycle active stops the bot of making that.
Okay, that's good to know.
I will look at that Prometheus histogram thing, and I'll comment on it.
So
So
can you
898.
assign yourself? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I got you long.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens when you speak up. Max size for secret. I think I remember reading through this one. That's an issue with the secret size with this is the cert revocation list. I think someone was looking at trying to move it to a config map and not a
Config map?
secret.
Yeah, so this is hard because I'm gonna show this one to Dims because he was the one that added a limitless config map. Yeah, so there is no
I mean,
there is no easy answer for that one. Like I understand the problem because the certificate revocation list, they can grow up a lot, actually really a lot. But on the other hand, we can add like a triage accepted or at least like a life cycle priority backlog and take a look later because it makes sense, but we need to think in another way of dealing with CRL. For example, CRL, they are deprecated in like Go libraries and people keep asking for like certificate authorities to use OCSP. So that's a priority space backlog.
Space backlog. Okay.
Priority, just backlog, exactly. You can remove
Just
the long
backlog.
term. Yeah. We can take a look into that as well. That's not like a good practice, but I understand like the need of that.
Not a good practice to put it on the backlog like that.
No, that's not a good practice to put like a huge secret as a config map and think that the key value of Kubernetes is like limitless. You start getting a lot of performance issues as much as you grow up your values.
Yeah.
Tolerance to
I've
API
not read
unavailable.
through this one.
I have no idea of what is this. For using NGINX inverse the backend with the following message.
Well, it takes a few minutes because it's using the endpoints. It's going to take a few minutes for the endpoints controllers to figure out that those are out of service. This is just a timing issue, right?
Probably.
Yeah. Disruption to the API server causes instability. Yeah, assign that one to me. I can take a look if this is still something. I am going to prioritize the core dump stuff. So now I know actually how to at least try to reproduce that, but you can assign that one to me and I can take a look later. Yeah, and do a lifecycle active, please. Thank you, James.
Distinguish between wait shutdown command for standard K at sync time. Okay, so already old. Did we already ask him to try and upgrade? No.
No. The question is this something we want to consider, or is it not relevant at all?
Hold on, let me read. We can specify which shutdown was pre-hook, blah, 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 blah. Since this term is also what it's shutting down a pod. Has to read it though for sure from the logs that the pre-stop hooks. Or maybe we can just add a log saying, hey, wait shutdown was called. Right? I don't like the idea like of using I really don't like the idea of using a different signal term just because we can separate. So yeah, so one question, we can make just one question saying, hey, if we add some log, shouldn't that be enough? A log before shutting down?
See if they get back to us. 56. We should have time for a couple more. The documentation issue, it was always fun.
Yeah, so the
Carlos
base
is already
question
on
here
that
is that someone is already assigned, but I don't know if he's still on it or not. Maybe we can just ping him.
Yeah, that's Carlos. So I have a meeting with him tomorrow, and he wants also to make some sync about Ingress NGINX. So I can talk with him tomorrow about like he actually takes a look into everything. Carlos is all around the internet. If you look into a repo, you are gonna see his avatar. So I'm gonna talk with him. He told me that he's trying to sync as well.
Okay. That was easy. Yeah, we might get through the list. What are the next steps?
Carlos, Docker God.
Yeah, this is on me. I guess this is on me on Jintal. I just stopped reviewing because we decided to put that on code freeze. But PR, I guess PR is good, but there is some need of test, right? I left a comment. Actually, Tao left a comment. I did it. Yeah, but I guess this PR is good. I just don't want it to accept it before we release version 1. Otherwise, I would need to rebase everything again. Really help me, folks. It's really annoying to keep rebasing stuff.
There we go. Just so that we have tracks so that we can at least say that we've looked at it. Alrighty, well, we've gotten through everything and we're about at time. So we've got a couple action items. And
Nice.
with that, we'll talk with everyone next week. Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
guys.
folks. Have a nice week. Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye bye.